guys. I think I saw somebody maybe watching, just one person, so I don't know, how many people might be just, kind of lurking, which I've said before that is cool. You don't necessarily have to get in here and chat and be all interactive. Um, but I'm not really going to go into some housekeeping stuff because I think usually my regulars are in here and they've heard my spiel for, the stuff I've got for sale. But I will mention that I do have a shop on Etsy, the Morbid Beauty Boutique, where you can, take a look at some things. If you try to go to my Etsy shop and you are unable to find it, just let me know. And if you're interested in looking at what I've got and may possibly want to buy something, I can give you the URL for it. I still have t-shirts on TeePublic under Dana on Deck. I couldn't put Deadites on deck because it kept kicking me out. So evidently the word Deadites is is copyrighted somehow. Again, I don't know how some people get by with having all kinds of stuff on their shirts and in the name of their shop and all that. But it really, when it comes down to it, it doesn't really matter. I am at some point going to make my own t-shirts as soon as I get a heat transfer process in place. And then I can probably do just about any shirts I want unless, somebody sees them or, heaven forbid, they order them and then do a cease and desist thing under the guise of being a fan of my show and ordering a shirt. I'm hoping that nobody would do that, but you never know. But anyway, possibly I could maybe sell those through my Etsy shop. But right now, if you're interested in getting shirts from TeePublic, you certainly can do that. But I was just going to check again. It looks like I got one view. So somebody is watching. Brandon Lee, my old boy, he's I thought I'd keep him back here with me because I thought he might be happier that if he was back here with me. Oh, hey, Texas, it's fine. I gave a little bit of notice for this one. It wasn't just like a last minute thing. But, that's perfectly fine. I know watching people's live streams not the only thing you guys have to do in your life. But I was just going to, go over a few baseline things before I get into the live stream, just in case there are people that are, coming in late. No, I didn't. I didn't give enough of a heads up on this one. Oh, Texas, I think you need do you need like a full day's notice instead of like a few hours? I'm going to have to get better at that, actually, on the serious side of that. But, again, I'm just going to go over a few. Okay, I'll try to get better at that. I guess I need to do like Steve. I think Steve gives maybe a few days notice before he has one. But as CK brought up, Steve was a no-show on Saturday. Oh, so you got a beep on your phone. Okay. I would imagine that's because you guys are, signed up or you're subscribed to my channel. Those of you that are subscribed probably get some kind of notification. Brandon, be good now. But like I was saying, Steve gives I think he gives a few days notice. But he didn't, I didn't even know he wasn't going to do one. Well, technically, we were out of town through the day, but I'm not gonna lie to you. Steve could have done a show if he had really, if he had really wanted to. Um, because we got back way before his 6 o'clock time. A few hours before his 6 o'clock time frame. Um, but it's not that Steve doesn't like doing these things for you guys, but when he's tired or when he's done something, live streams are not, honestly, they're not his top priority. And I was thinking about going on there in his place, or like going on my channel and just doing something, just a little nonsense throwaway show where we talked about anything and everything or nothing all in one. But then I got kind of lazy and then I didn't do it. But I am on tonight, and I don't know how long I'm going to hold up. We'll just have to see. But there are two reasons why I'm wanting to do this stream tonight. One is my birthday is tomorrow, and I kind of just wanted to do something for my birthday. The other reason is I'm actually getting to work from home at my new job tomorrow and Tuesday, because they're having what's called new employee orientation, which is something I had to go through too, and the other two new help desk people had to go through. But the NEO training, or new employee orientation, is for any new employee for the bank, whether that's IT people or tellers or loan officers, whatever. They have to go through this for 2 days or a day and a half or whatever it is. So even though I don't drive, I guess my supervisor thought that she should offer me the opportunity, just to be fair, to work from home. The reason really why they ask people if they want to work from home when they have these NEO trainings is sometimes they have rather large groups, 20 or 30 people. Our group that we had back in May was a large group. This group is going to be a large group. And so there's limited parking at the 435 building. That's literally what this building is referred to as, the 435 building. There's limited parking. So sometimes, I know they can't like have tellers and bank tellers and stuff work from home, but people that can work from home, the people in IT and some other people, we can work from home because we can still, connect to our computer at work and take phone calls and work the queue and all of that, because we can remote into our PCs. A teller wouldn't be able to do that. The infrastructure people that are in the same section as the help desk people, they can also work from home when these things are going on. That frees up a lot of parking space, because you not only have people in Louisville that are new employees of the bank, you have Brandon, I wish you'd be good, buddy. And I know this might be super, super boring for you, Texas, or anybody else that's watching, but not necessarily in the chat. But I was just kind of trying to BS a little bit to give, people enough time to get in here. And you also might be wondering why I haven't done one of these in a long time, and now all of a sudden I'm doing one. So a little explanation I thought was in order for this. But in any event, even though I don't drive, like I said, I think my supervisor just asked me, hey, Darren, just asked me if I wanted to do this. And if I wanted to, I could. If I didn't want to and I wanted to come to the office, that was fine too. But she was offering it to me. And so I pretty much jumped at the chance. I don't know how many other people are doing that. But like I said, not only people from Louisville that are working for Stockyards Bank in Louisville will be coming in and having to use up parking spaces, but there's also people coming from out of town, people from Indianapolis that work for Stockyards in Indianapolis, people from Cincinnati, and people from Lexington, depending on what location they're going to be working at. But anyway, now that that's out of the way, Texas, you say, but you did announce there wasn't going to be a show. Somebody did. I know I'm not crazy. Steve probably did, Texas. And, I just, I'm going to be 46 years old tomorrow, so bear with me. My memory is not as good as it once was. So it may very well be that Steve said, on the last one he did, that the next 2 weekends he wasn't going to do one. And thank you for the birthday wishes too, Texas. I appreciate that. But anyway, this show is going to be kind of loose and free and all that stuff. You guys can put in the chat whatever you want. Just please don't insult me, because I'm I'm a little bit sensitive. I might cry if people insult me in the text. But you can ask questions in there. You can ask questions of me. You can ask questions of other people in the chat, like we usually do. This is going to be free form. I'm not expecting to have any real structure to this one. Because occasionally I like to do them like this, where there's not necessarily a specific theme, so to speak. But we can just get in here and talk and enjoy each other's company. I am going to talk about, briefly, about 4 movies that I consider birthday horror films. And usually, ones that I watch on and around my birthday. I may, since I'm working from home tomorrow, I may, during my hour lunch, watch the majority of one of these. I actually did watch Bloody Birthday right before I'm doing this stream. But I did want to talk briefly about these 4 movies. And I'm sure that there's been a time, one time or another, in my other live streams where I've talked about them. So that's why I say I'm going to talk about them briefly. That way, if there's anybody in here watching, or even in the chat, that has not seen these particular movies, I won't be boring you other guys, but maybe I'll introduce them to a movie they maybe are not familiar with, or just may have heard just a tiny bit about. Texas, you say I would never do such a thing. You're a friend for life. Well, Texas, you are a friend for life too. And I was kidding. I don't think that you guys will come in here and insult me anyway. Yes, I agree. Bloody Birthday is a great movie, and that's the one I'm actually going to talk about first, because it's first in my stack, and it's also the one that I just finished rewatching. This, as you can tell, let me uncover the little A there, isn't the Arrow release of this. I also have kind of like a generic release of this as well. But actually, this is my preferred version on Blu-ray. I feel like the quality of the Arrow version is better. And honestly, I feel like it has more extras. But this movie is described on the back of the case as The Bad Seed Meets Halloween, which to me that is an almost perfect description of this movie, because I can see some slight Halloween elements in there. I can also see the bad seed elements. Something I can also see, because we're dealing with children as killers, is Village of the Damned. Is another movie that I'm reminded of when I watch this one. Darren, you say Bloody Birthday doesn't get the love it deserves. It's a really well-made slasher. And it honestly is, and I was, recognizing again as I rewatched this just, an hour and a half ago or an hour and 20 minutes ago, how well made it is. And I'm sorry, guys, if you can hear my dog Brandon whine, and he's already went out and he's had this and he's had that, but he's just not. He's an old guy and he's restless a lot of the times. But yes, Darren, I totally agree with that. I agree with you, Texas, that it's a great movie. Texas, you say you had a Severin DVD before you got the Arrow Blu-ray. That might have been, yeah. Come to think of it, Texas, I said generic, but actually I believe it was the Severin release that I had. I think I had the Severin Blu-ray, but again, I much prefer the Arrow release to the Severin release in this case. Like I said, mainly because I'm a big fan of great special features. I don't think Steve is so much so much so like I am. Now, Steve will like a really good documentary or something that's on one of these. But other than that, I don't think he's too interested in just straight interviews with people. Some commentaries he likes, but he always tells me it's not about the special features, it's about the quality of the movie. That's what he's buying. And me, I'm a little bit of both. I want good quality movie, but I also like a bunch of special features. As many special features as you can cram on these releases. That makes it even better for me. So, a little bit about the plot. There are three children, Debbie, Curtis, and Stephen, who were born at the same time during an eclipse, which, as the movie goes on, the main character of Joyce, played by Lori Lethin, studies astrology, and she does astrology charts for her friends and does astrology charts for her family and all that. And she actually does an astrology chart for Debbie, one of the kids. And she tells her younger brother, played really well by Casey Martell, who was in E.T. He had a spot on Growing Pains. I don't know if this was it's been so long since I've seen all the episodes of Growing Pains that I can't really recall if it was just a one-off episode that Casey Martell was on, or he was on multiple episodes. Some of you guys may recall, but Darren, you say those kids are really creepy. We have a great final girl too. Yes, Lori Lethin. Lori Lethin is not a woman that gets brought up very often as a final girl, and so Darren, I'm glad that you brought that up. I would like to pause for a second and, in this description of this movie, and say that Lori Lethin had the potential to be and she was a great final girl. She was also in Return to Horror High and The Prey. And there may have been other horror films that she was in. And if you guys can remember them, feel free to put those in the chat. But I don't, just like this movie doesn't get the love it deserves. I don't think Lori Lethin gets the love she deserves. When people talk about final girls, they tend to bring up people like Jamie Lee Curtis and Marilyn Burns and people like that, and maybe Adrienne King from Friday the 13th, who, was a final girl in the original movie, but by the second one, she ends up being off pretty quickly. But you don't generally hear Lori Lethin mentioned it when people talk about final girls. So I think that is really awesome that you brought that up, Darren, and reminded me again of what a really great actress and final girl Lori Lethin is, and was. So there's one scene where Joyce is talking to her brother, played by Casey Martell. She says, because Debbie was born during an eclipse, there should be something missing from her personality. And they talk about this again, where she says it's like these 3 kids that were born during the eclipse don't have a conscience. And then she's like, well, that's what's missing, their conscience. And her brother is like, well, what exactly does that mean? And she's like, well, when you don't have a conscience, you don't realize what you're doing is wrong or terrible, or, certain killers over time, in real life have been described as not having a conscience. Sociopaths and stuff like that, they literally do not have a conscience. They can go out and slit somebody's throat, run over somebody with their car, shoot somebody, and it doesn't affect them in any way, shape, or form. So that's how these kids are in the movie. So they succeed in killing a few people in this movie. And where I feel like it's a little bit different than them just not having a conscience is the fact that these kids have these certain discussions. When it's just the 3 kids, Debbie, Kirsten, Stephen, that are talking, it's pretty much they plan some of this stuff. They, their teacher, played by Susan Strasberg, is a bitchy teacher. And most kids would get aggravated with her. But these kids take it to the next level. They actually plan to get rid of their teacher. Even Curtis says in the movie, we'll make her quiet enough. So, and then, before long, they literally do make her quiet because she's dead. And so anybody that crosses the path of these kids is in danger of becoming dead. So it's a little bit of a no conscience thing, and it's a little bit of you cross us, we're going to kill your ass. So don't make us mad. So there, you've got both of those things working there, but both of them work together to make a really creepy atmosphere. Because these kids, when they smile, when Billy Jacoby, when he gives that smile, he's the one that plays Curtis in the movie. I get cold chills up and down my spine because he is really great at being able to play a really innocent young person, and he has the ability to play a really sadistic, vile, dangerous young person. And he knows when to turn it on. Darren, you said that creepy blonde girl was in Hospital Massacre as well. She certainly was. Um, in Texas, you said that little girl is like a mastermind. Yeah, she does pretty much plan all of these big, elaborate things and kind of. The only one that seems like he's a little bit of a tag along, it seems like Debbie and Curtis are the masterminds of everything. Steven seems like he's a little bit of a tag along. There are certain scenes where if you look at Steven, he's kind of holding back and kind of doesn't really have any expression on his face. He doesn't have an angry expression. He doesn't have that creepy expression. He just literally has no expression. Um, and it may be because maybe he wasn't as well developed as an actor at that point as uh, as the other two. That's possible. Um, so it's also said on the back here that this movie mixes the killer kids subgenre with elements of the then booming slice and dice movie. And keep in mind, this movie was from 1981. Um, it shocks and appalls with its scenes of young children shooting, strangling, and bludgeoning their way through the local population. They sure don't and can't make them like this anymore. And you don't really see movies like this anymore. So that one line there, they sure don't and can't make them like this anymore. And I think a lot of that has to do with the way society has changed and not for the better over time. With all of the school shootings and church shootings and movie theater shootings and what have you, especially the school shootings, though, I would say. Unfortunately, here in the United States, and Texas is probably familiar, all too familiar with the one that happened recently at this small elementary school where I think like 19 children were killed or whatever, but I don't want to bum everybody out bringing that up. But I think because society has gotten so evil in so many respects, I think that's why movies like this couldn't get made now. I mean, a movie like Final Exam couldn't get made now either. And for those of you that have seen Final Exam, you know exactly what I'm talking about. There is a mock shooting masterminded by the local fraternity. And that also, this guy could get an 82 on his test. They caused a big distraction in that movie so the guy could, make it look like his test had already been graded and he put an 82 on there, slipped it underneath the stack of exams, while all this stuff that his fraternity brothers were doing was causing a really big distraction. Yeah, we certainly can skip that. The only reason I brought it up is because it's things like that don't allow us to have movies like Bloody Birthday or Final Exam, because they're not innocent anymore. Because of how society has become so vile and deplorable, as you said. But all in all, the movie is great. I think it's well acted. Lori Lethin, as Darren brought up earlier, is an awesome final girl. And And another thing I like about Lori Lethen, I've seen two different interviews with her, one on the Seven release and one on this one. And even though she says that she finds it difficult to watch horror movies, at no point in time in either interview that I can recall does she try to put down horror movies or act ashamed because she was in horror movies. Um, I think she says it's surprising at one point that she was in so many. But at no point in time does she seem to put the genre down or put down fans, which makes me have even more respect for her. Hey, Dirk. We had fun this morning, didn't we, when we did the podcast? Dirk was actually on the Eurocult podcast with Darren and I this morning. Um, and Steve, of course. I don't want to forget about Steve, bless his heart. Um, but I hope that we can have Dirk on again soon, and maybe we can, have other people on at different times and stuff, because that was really fun to have an extra member there today when we talked about the girl who knew too much. Well, I'm glad you had a blast, Dirk. I'll have to share that with Steve, because I had a blast too. I'm always of the I always just say the more the merrier. The more people you can have. I mean, I guess you could technically have too many people talking at one time, unless it was something like Dead Pit does when they have a horror roundtable or something. But I thought it really added another layer today for us to have an additional person to discuss the film. But I'll talk a little bit. Well, before I talk about the special edition contents, I did want to bring up the fact that Julie Brown is also in this, and Julie Brown was, she was a little haughty back in 1981 when she was in this film. Now, sadly, and I'm sure this is through no fault of Julie Brown at all, but she was also in Clueless. And I'm sorry about my light if the light quality is changing. I'm not sure if my light is getting ready to go out. The light that I have over my computer is getting ready to go out, but it's been flickering lately. But yeah, I definitely second that, Darren, that Dirk is welcome whenever he wants to come on, because I don't see Steve having a problem either. But that light's really blinking. That's driving me nuts. I'm probably just going to have to replace a bulb in it or something, probably. But anyway, if you guys can deal with it, I'll try to deal with it as well. But the thing about Julie Brown is she, like the majority of us, got older, got heavier. And if you watched her in Clueless, she was the gym teacher in Clueless. Bless her heart, she's gained quite a bit of weight since she was on this movie. And if I did not know her name and know that was her when I watched the credits, I probably wouldn't have known it was the same girl. But she's really good in this. And, I don't think I'm giving anything away, but if you haven't seen it, you might want to plug your ears. But Julie Brown's character does suffer a demise in Bloody Birthday. So, like I said, I was sad to see her go in that. Well, we appreciate you coming on too, Dirk. And so you say everything looks good. Okay. Well, I can see it out like my peripheral vision and stuff. I can see it flickering. So um, it is slightly aggravating to me, but I need this light on. Otherwise, you guys wouldn't be able to see anything. You wouldn't be able to see me, which might be a good thing, but you also wouldn't be able to see my green screen image because if I have no light at all, this will not show up on there. So, anyway. Oh, you say what Julie Brown's changes like calling camp. Yeah, that's what I try to tell. I'm not trying to make Steve sound like an asshole here or anything. I love the man dearly. I wouldn't be married to him if I didn't. But Steve has this bad habit of talking badly about anybody, actresses or just regular people, when they get older and they get heavier and maybe they decide that they're going to stop wearing makeup and stop working out as much. I mean, Jamie Lee Curtis did it too. I mean, she didn't gain a whole bunch of weight, but there was a time where she said, screw it. I had my time in the sun, but I had to really work at it. And now I want to focus more on raising my kid and all this stuff. And, who cares whether I look, as hot as I did back in the 70s and 80s. I am who I am. And if you don't like me like this, then, I don't care. Um, but Steve has, this thing where I've accused him of being, kind of superficial, but because he looks too much at the outside of somebody rather than the inside. And if somebody's really hot at one time, well, an actress is really hot at one time, if she's, super slim and got the abs and all these things that he likes, that I obviously don't have, which I sometimes wonder, what he sees in me because um, he something that came up recently was a discussion Steve and I had at the Cracker Barrel. And the only reason we had it at the Cracker Barrel was because we were having breakfast at the Cracker Barrel and the pictures had surfaced of Bridget Fonda. And everybody, you guys know how Bridget Fonda used to look. Um, she was hot too. Um, but these pictures surfaced that just showed a regular woman. She'd gained a little bit of weight. It didn't look like she had little or no makeup on. And I think Bridget Fonda had said that she was no longer interested in, impressing anybody as far as being in the movies and stuff. She just wanted to raise her kids and be a normal person. Well, Steve brought up all these things like she didn't have to get like that. She could have worked at it. And I said, well, I think she looks fine. I mean, we're all going to get older. We're all going to get flab in places we don't want it, no matter how hard we work. And, there are some days where I just don't give a shit. I don't feel like putting on makeup. I don't feel like putting on fancy duds and fixing my hair just so, because I'm not that kind of person. If we go to a nice sit down restaurant or something like that, I will fix up. But Steve, wanted to kind of, put me down a little bit he told me a few months ago, he said, you used to fix yourself up, pretty yourself up and stuff, and now you just sit around in sweatpants and a t-shirt and stuff like that. And I'm like, I'm at home. Who is seeing me other than you? And, So, I don't know. Yeah, I know Dirk is married, and I, you know, Texas. I don't know about you if you have a girlfriend or whatever. And it really, I'm not trying to pry. I don't know if Darren is seeing anybody right now, and I don't want to pry, but I would like to think that most men do not talk to their wives like that. And like I said, um, I have accused Steve of being superficial, that he only looks at the outside, and if the outside isn't completely pleasing to him, he grumps and growls and carries on about it, instead of looking on the inside. Some people might be a little more homely, but they have huge hearts. I mean, some people might have a few more extra pounds, but they have a great big heart and would do anything in the world for you. So that's the only thing I wanted to, I know that was getting way off the movie, but when I seen Julie Brown's name again, that just made me think of the whole Bridget Fonda thing, and how sometimes people are superficial about stuff, and all that. But Darren, you say you think it's a man thing. It could be a little bit, but, and I'm not saying this to be mean about my husband, but I think in his case it's a character flaw. And I've got character flaws too, just different ones. Um, my thought on the whole thing is, if you love somebody, especially if you love somebody enough to marry them, you love them regardless. Um, Steve didn't have hair when I met him, but even if he did have hair and then lost it after we'd been married a few years, I would still love him. I don't want Steve to gain a lot of weight and become unhealthy and have a heart attack and die, and then I wouldn't have my husband anymore. But if he gained a few extra pounds, I'm not going to just stop loving him because of that. Because if you stop loving somebody for a few extra pounds, or because they don't wear makeup every day, or don't color their hair and they got gray, just like I've got some gray here, then I don't think you ever really loved them to begin with. But that's, I'm not a relationship expert. I'm not trying to browbeat you guys or anything like that. Um, let's see. Texas, you say, I saw some pictures of Joan Van Ark. She looks like a walking skeleton. I was shocked. Yeah, sometimes you see, the reverse with some people. And, sometimes when I see somebody really skinny, I'm just wondering, is there an illness? Is there a medical problem going on in that case? Dirk, you say she might have seen the dark side of Hollywood. Exactly. There definitely is a dark side to Hollywood as well. Um, Darren, you say you're single and stress free. Yeah. Well, sometimes when I think back to when I was single, I didn't realize that it was stress free, but it pretty much was. But I'm happy to be married. No matter what I say about Steve, I still love the man. So, but I say more power to you. If it's easier to be single, then there's nothing wrong with that. Um, well, I got. Thank you, Wes, but I think I have a few more years before I get to 53, but thank you anyway. Um, Actually, I will be 46 tomorrow. Um, Texas said, oh, damn, it's Wes. Everybody pretend to not be here. Um, Thank you, Dirk. I appreciate it. Well, she said, we all love Steve, but he's just a grumpy old bitch. Well, he can be a grumpy old man sometimes, and he'll admit to that. So, in Texas, you say, gotta pretend to be working for the boss. You know I'm kidding. Okay. So, anyway, back to the movie. The special edition contents on this Arrow release. You get, of course, the brand new 2K restoration. You only get uncompressed mono audio, which I was a little bit disappointed in, but I can live with it. You get brand new audio commentary with director Ed Hunt. You also get brand new audio commentary with The Hysteria Continues, which, as I've said before, I love all of the Hysteria Continues commentaries. Bloody Babysitter, a brand new interview with actress Lori Lethen. Bad Seeds and Body Counts, a brand new video appreciation of Bloody Birthday and the Killer Kid subgenre by film journalist Chris Alexander. Starships and Killer Brains, producer Ken Gord on the cinematic career of his friend and collaborator Ed Hunt. There's also an archival interview with executive producer Max Rosenberg, original theatrical and promo trailers, and there is also a reversible sleeve featuring original and newly commissioned artwork by Timothy Petides. And you saw this artwork. The other artwork, hopefully you can see that, is that artwork with the birthday cake with the bloody hand coming through there, and the fingers are lit like birthday cake candles. So, yeah, and I don't have the disc in there because I was watching it earlier. Well, as you say, Ed Hunt is half the filmmaker of his brother Mike. Darren, you said that Arrow release is only available in the U.S. Oh, man, that's a shame. I didn't realize that. Well, she say you need the Arrow release. Well, hell, buddy, I figured you already had that release. You have most everything else. Darren, you've got the 88 films. Okay. I do not have... I have a few 88 films releases, but I don't have that particular one. Well, she said Arrow Video is the only company I'd be interested in completing. Okay. So, we'll just move right along. Y'all feel free to keep putting stuff in the chat. I was just going to move along to the second movie in my stack of movies, which is Happy Birthday to Me. And this is the... I was going to see if I could show you guys that. I don't know if you can read that really good. But this is the Indicator release, which is actually my favorite release of all the Blu-ray releases anyway that have come out. Now, I do remember that horrible release on DVD a few years. I think it was DVD. Maybe it was DVD and Blu-ray that came out several years ago, which had the really cool original artwork on it. But it had that horrible disco soundtrack when the killings were going on, which just completely did not work for me. And I don't think it worked for a lot of people. So the original music is thankfully restored in this release. And I think they also have a version where you can watch it with the horrible disco soundtrack at the most inappropriate times. You don't... When somebody's being killed on screen, I don't know about you guys, but I usually don't want to hear dance music. It doesn't seem right. Let's see. Well, she said, I'm kind of holding off on some titles because they may do 4K versions. Yeah, I find myself falling into that trap quite often of buying something on Blu-ray too quickly and then them turning around a month later and putting out a 4K release. Um, Dirk, you say I have some piece of shit release. It's bad. I paid $7 off a deep discount. Um, that may have been that release that had the horrible disco sounding music when people were being killed. Um, yes, Darren, Happy Birthday to Me does have iconic poster art. I also remember renting this as a kid, and this artwork is primarily what got me to rent it. And as you can see, there's a black glove in this case, which of course reminds us of Jallows, for those of us that are familiar with that group of films. Um, and I could see a lot of, in my opinion, Jallo elements in this movie. Yes, Darren, you were thinking what I was saying. Perfect blend of slasher and Jallo. Um, Dance music is only good for wood chipper scenes, Texas. Um, yep. I mean, something other than for a slasher movie. I don't know who thought that was a good move. Um, yeah, another film that doesn't get mentioned a lot now, um, and I think it's mainly because, I mean, I don't want to say it's just young people, but the movie watching public in general that watches these types of films or watches the horror films, um, unfortunately, I don't think they're interested in these types of films anymore. They want something more hardcore, I think. Um, I don't really know exactly what they're looking for, but I don't think these old slashers that we remember watching and growing up with in the 80s, the late 70s and 80s, um, that they have any real appreciation for them because they don't get it. They think we're I think they think we're purely enjoying these films because of the nostalgia factor, which I'm not going to say is not part of this, because naturally, stuff you grew up watching, you're going to want to return to that at certain times in your life. Um, Now, Steve, unfortunately, I can hardly get him to watch slasher movies anymore. He'll watch a Jallo, but I'm talking about your regular slasher movies. Um, Not, not a. He probably wouldn't, even though me and Darren obviously do. He probably wouldn't even consider that movie or this movie, Happy Birthday to Me, to to be a perfect blend of slasher and giallo. He would just point blank, I think, just call it a slasher. And I don't know when he got so elitist that he calls a lot of this stuff that I'm talking about tonight a piece of shit. And it's like, how can you be so elitist, Steve? You used to like this stuff, and now all of a sudden you don't like it. It's a piece of shit. And he's watching stuff like Dash Cam, which is which is something that me and Darren and Dirk and Steve all talked about today. Steve has a greater appreciation for something like Dash Cam than he would Happy Birthday to Me, and it just blows my mind that there could be that much change in Steve in just I don't know, I'm going to say maybe 10 years time, because he still liked this kind of stuff when we first started dating, or else he had me fooled, one of the two, because we would watch that some of this stuff and we'd watch some other stuff and things like that. But when we first started dating, I don't recall watching the horrendous crap that I see him watching now and finding entertaining. He was laughing like a loon during the end credits to Dash Cam because that stupid girl, Annie Hardy, was sitting there doing nasty, raunchy raps about everybody that was in the credits and everybody that worked on the film. And I was like, this is juvenile. This is childish. This is not, uh, this is like, as they used to say, dick and fart jokes. You know, this is not entertainment to me. It's just nonsense. So, anyway. Let's see. Well, she said Melissa Sue Anderson was a beautiful lady back in them days. She certainly was, and I think I brought this up before, but I'll bring it up again for anybody that either doesn't remember or maybe wasn't on the live stream when I was talking about it. Was about the time this movie was made. Melissa Sue Anderson did an interview with some magazine. I don't, sadly, I don't recall what magazine it was, but you could probably look up the interview online nowadays, where she talked about trying to move away from stuff like Little House on the Prairie and going to, you know, part of being or doing that was being in movies like Happy Birthday to Me, which were a little more risque and stuff. It's not like she showed full frontal nudity in that. It's not like she had any really big sex scenes with anybody in that. But it was a lot more risque than Little House on the Prairie. And I think you guys would all agree with me. And she just basically was tired of family television, where she said basically anytime they wanted to do something awful to somebody on Little House on the Prairie, they would do it to her character. They had her go blind. They had her, I think, lose a kid in a fire, maybe. And it kept on going on and on and on. And she just was like, you know, I'm done. I'm done doing this stuff. So, and I say good for her. You know, kudos to her for being able to step up and say, I'm done with this stuff. I'm ready to move on. I'm ready to try new things. So, well, she said, oh, didn't you say you gotta love the Scooby-Doo ending? Yes, I do. I actually do love the Scooby-Doo ending. Well, she say, I think the mainstream movie watching public are dumb now. I mean, I hate to say it that way, but it is like people have, you know, and people like Steve would probably say this stuff is dumb that I'm talking about tonight. I mean, he's already called it pieces of shit, pieces of shit. He says that I want to watch a piece of shit I've watched 1,000 times already, and I'm like, well, that's because I enjoy it, and a lot of the new stuff I don't enjoy. So why would I watch something that I don't enjoy? That would, to me, that would be pointless. Well, she says Steve isn't a fun person. Well, he can be, and then depending on the day, he cannot be. So, you know, we could get it, excuse me, into a whole discussion about Steve, but I don't think he would be too happy with that. You want me to tell him to hush and go watch some nun porn? I mean, honestly, you know, no, nunsploitation movies aren't really my cup of tea. But I would much rather sit down and watch one of those than watch like that dash cam movie ever again. I mean, I would rather watch 5 nunsploitation movies in a row than to ever go back to something like that. Just because I think that I think that stuff is stupid. I think it's juvenile humor of the lowest common denominator. Um, Honestly, and I don't know why we have sunk so low as to find, you know, stuff like that entertaining. Because the more people that say, "Oh, that was fun, that was funny, that was hilarious," them, you know, making, you know, raunchy sexual innuendos and stuff and turning into a rap. And I mean, um, I was telling Steve that I'm not going to talk about that dash cam movie too much, but there was a whole thing where the main chick and her friend, supposedly her friend, who she ends up stealing this car, but whatever. But they're in the car together and they're doing a rap, and the guy keeps saying, "I had a butt buffet. I had a butt buffet." And I'm like, what? Who cares, dude? And they were talking about sticking their fingers in somebody's ass and stretching it, and that's why they called this guy Stretch. It's like, I I don't get it. I just don't get it. But anyway, um, Darky said quality has dropped off for sure. I think the older generation had more of a passion about what they were doing, not just cash grabby like today. Exactly, Dirk. I mean, that I think you hit the nail on the head with that. I really do. Um, I just don't. You know, I hate to keep bringing Steve up into this conversation. I mean, I love Steve, but um, I'm sure y'all are tired of hearing about what he likes and what he doesn't like and all that. But I did. That's why I find it hard to believe that Steve has decided that this kind of stuff is worthy of his time. But something like Happy Birthday to Me, oh Lord, no, don't want to watch that. You know. But anyways, um, Darren, you say I just find it hard to like the new films coming out. There are exceptions like Last Night in Soho, but they're few and far between. Yes, I agree with that as well. Um, Durkee says CGI has made people lazy as well, and plot holes are so much bigger in newer films, as well as there has to be some kind of agenda preached at you, like the new Candyman did. See, I didn't even watch the new Candyman because I love the original Candyman so much. I think that movie was perfectly cast. I think, to me, Tony Todd is the one and only Candyman. I thought it was stupid to have that old song, the Candyman, playing at the beginning of it. It seemed to take some of the horror out of it. And I'm not sure how horrific it was because I didn't even watch it. I believe Steve did, though. Um, but anyway, a little bit about the plot of Happy Birthday to Me. Something else that got me to rent this way back when my video rental days was not only the artwork here, who, by the way, that is nobody that's in the film. And the people that they mention here. Stephen will never ride a motorcycle again. I think Greg is the only one that was the actual name of somebody in the film. Greg will never lift weights again. Who's killing Crawford High's snobbish top 10? At the rate they're going, there will be no one left for Virginia's birthday party alive. But that wasn't the part that got me to rent it. The part that got me to rent it, other than the artwork, was the tagline, 6 of the most bizarre murders you will ever see. That combined with somebody getting shish kebabbed was enough to make me decide that I had to rent this movie. And I thought there were some good kills in this for the time period. Perhaps it wouldn't be elaborate enough for some of the movie watching public now. But back when this movie came out, and even a few years after that, when I was finally able to rent it. Um, I thought it was pretty much a perfect horror film. Even with that Scooby Doo ending, which I liked as well. Um, but Melissa Sue Anderson plays Virginia, the main character in the movie, and you learn about something that happened to Virginia years ago. She was in a car accident with her mother, and they ended up in underwater, and her mother died. She was able to escape the car and not drown like her mother. Unfortunately, her mother drowned. But you find out that when Virginia comes up out of the water, this comes in pieces. You slowly get pieces of what happened the last time Virginia was going to have a birthday party. But when she comes up out of the water, it appears that she hits her head on a barge or something that's going by, and evidently she gets brain damage. And there are several scenes where, one where they're working, they cut her head open. They're going to try to, I guess, get pressure or blood, swelling, whatever, off of her brain to prevent more damage. And there's a whole weird scene that almost seems out of place, and I don't know if they were going to go in a different direction. But you see Virginia's brain start to swell, and the doctor said, she's dead, close her up. She's finished. And so I was always kind of, slightly confused about that part, because she didn't really die, obviously. Because she's running around there now talking to a doctor and who she's really close to. And then slowly all these different puzzle pieces, she starts getting her memory back over time. And you find out that her mother was messing around with another guy in town, and that Virginia evidently was the product of that affair. And so you see scenes of her old birthday party, and nobody has showed up. And her mother is going on about 6 of the richest. We've invited 6 of the richest, and she's naming them all off. And then she says, where are your little friends? Where are your friends from the Crawford Academy? And Virginia breaks down. She says, they're not coming because Ann Thomerson is having a party at her house. Well, her mother goes ballistic, and they go to Ann Thomerson's house. And it turns out that Ann's father was the one that Virginia's mother had the affair with. So he is actually Virginia's father. And, she's screaming and yelling, you better let her in to this party, and you owe me, and all this stuff. So, like I said, these little pieces start to come into play. And then throughout the whole movie, the top 10, the Crawford top 10, are slowly getting killed off. And then we finally get to the end. We figure out who the killer is. I don't want to reveal that in case there's somebody in here that has not seen this movie. But that's where the Scooby-Doo ending comes into play. You find out who's killing the Crawford top 10 and why. Another thing I wanted to bring up about this movie is there actually must be 2 versions of this movie. There must be an uncut version, which is normally what you see now. And there must have been a version that, even though it was obviously a hard R, it didn't show as much blood as this one version I saw and the version that is included on here. For instance, there's a scene where someone is killed and blood ends up being splashed all over the room, all over Virginia's room, actually. And her father comes home, with gifts for her and all this stuff, and finds the room covered in blood. I mean, blood is dripping off everything and stuff. So the version that I saw prior to that one, I never saw all that blood. I mean, I don't know if the print was just so dark that you couldn't see it, or it just literally was not there in that print. I mean, but all the other kills and stuff were in there. Just that one really super bloody scene was not included. But I'm going to take a breather here and look at y'all's, look at what y'all put in here while I've been talking. Darren, you said the Candyman remake was awful. Well, I'm glad I didn't waste my time with that one. Wes, I did like Last Night in Soho. I did enjoy it. And Derek, you say Last Night in Soho was great, which I agree with. Hey, old Curly Jaws. Darren, you say totally a modern masterpiece. Curly Jaws, you say, Dana, I got a movie for you to watch. It's called The Giant Claw from 1950 something. It's a classic. I think I've heard of that, but I'll have to try to look that one up to watch. Derek, you said the reveal is awesome and the tone it leaves you with is true horror. Exactly. Wes, you said, I'd love to get the soundtrack and score from Last Night in Soho. Yeah, I would too, actually. Darren, you said, I'm pretty sure that the Lost Elements was more gore. And that may be why the one scene maybe they were able to restore back in there with all the blood dripping in the room and being splattered everywhere was there in later releases, but not some of the other things maybe. How did I know you were going to say that, old Curly Jaws, that the Candyman remake was better than the original? Watch it, Nate. Well, I hate to disappoint you, old Curly Jaws, but I probably will not be watching that because I've watched so many awful movies that I will never get that time back. That I've reached the point where I just don't want to waste any more of my time on useless movies. I kind of got shanghaied into that dash cam movie that Steve was watching, because sometimes he just turns shit on when I'm sitting back there in the living room, and I'm like, either I'm too tired to get up and move and go do something else, or I just say screw it and just sit there and kind of try to zone out. But that chick was so annoying in dash cam that I found it difficult to even zone out during it. Oh, hey, John. I'm glad you said something, because I was like, who's Movie Junkie John? You haven't seen the new Candyman remake. Well, we've got two schools of thought in here, John. Oh, Curly Jaws is saying it's better than the original. So I guess you could either go with what he says or go with what some of the rest of us are saying, that it's awful. But anyway, so yeah, that's the basic plot of Happy Birthday to Me. It actually has one of those can't even talk, big glaring warnings on the back here. It says, warning, because of the bizarre nature of the party, no one will be seated during the last 10 minutes. pray you're not invited. And I like that too. Um, this is a Canadian film as well. I remember the time when Canada was doing some really great horror movies. Um, this is, oh goodness, this is a limited dual format edition. It does have a few special features in it. You get, of course, the HD restoration. Only get mono, well, no, actually, you get mono audio or alternative 5.1 surround soundtrack. There's also that awful alternative score. It says experience the film with a controversial rescored electronic music soundtrack as used on the 2004 home video re-release. Audio commentary again by the Hysteria Continues. Justin Kurzweil, Joseph Henson, Eric Threefall, and Nathan Johnson. There's an image gallery on set and promotional material, original trailer and TV spots, new and improved English. Well, if you need subtitles, they're on there. Exclusive 24-page booklet with extracts from the original press kit, advertising promotion guide, and selected film reviews. The indicator release is actually the UK of Blu-ray premiere, and this is a limited dual format edition of 5,000 copies. And this was actually put out by Powerhouse Films in the UK. Well, she say Candyman remake is shit dipped in shit. Well, I kind of figured that. Oh, goodness. Oh, boy. But anyway, that is happy birthday to me. Got a couple more I wanted to bring up. I don't know. I can't recall how everybody felt about this one the last time I talked about it. But this is Madhouse. This is another Arrow release, as you can see there. It says, many people visit, few ever leave the Madhouse. Now, this is kind of a deceptive title, in my opinion, to the movie. Because it really doesn't have that much to do with a madhouse. And unless you count the hospital where the twin sister is housed before she pretty much escapes. Unless you want to call that a madhouse. But I just think that's a pretty, misleading, kind of deceptive title. And it almost makes it look like a Omen thing as well, with that Rottweiler there and the young girl standing there with the glowing eyes and the knife. So I think I didn't just blindly buy this without knowing anything about it. I think I read some, information about, like a plot synopsis and some reviews. Oh. Dirk, you say Madhouse is hilarious. Some parts of it actually are, especially the stuff with the uncle. And I'm not going to go too much into that because I don't want to give certain things away about this movie. So, there was actually a couple of titles that were more appropriate than Madhouse, in my opinion. Movie is also known as And When She Was Bad and There Was a Little Girl. Both of those titles, in my opinion, are more geared towards letting you know what you're in for rather than Madhouse. But maybe they thought Madhouse would sell more copies. I'm not really sure. Um, let's see. Darren, you say you remember being a bit underwhelmed with Madhouse. Well, I can see how some people would be a little underwhelmed. I mean, I don't think I was completely flat out disappointed when I watched it for the first time. Um, but I still think that I was expecting a little bit different movie than what it actually turned out to be. Um, my face got blurry for just a second there. I think sometimes when my camera tries to refocus on me, it gets kind of stuck. Um, but anyway, I think I was expecting a little bit different movie than what I actually got. But I think I've got a greater appreciation for it now that I've seen it more than once. Um, but I do understand, Darren, you saying that you're a bit underwhelmed. And the dog scene is unintentionally funny. It's obvious that you're dealing with a dog puppet or a fake dog head, of which I'm thankful in many ways, and I'm not going to give that scene away. But if you watch the film, you'll know exactly what I'm talking about. Um, Durkee say yes, and the one jump scare gets you every time. Yeah, that one jump scare does seem to come out of nowhere and does have it or had an effect on me the first time that I watched it. Um, but anyway, the basic story. This was directed by Ovidio Asantis, the guy that did The Visitor and Piranha 2, The Spawning. Not Piranha, but Piranha 2. Um, they say Madhouse is a crimson soaked tale of sibling rivalry taken to a terrifying and bloody extreme. And I do like how the beginning of this movie comes on, where you have what appears to be one twin bashing the other in the face with a rock or something. And then after the twin's face gets mashed, it looks more like a doll. And it's kind of creepy to me, that whole sequence. Um, it sort of reminds me of the beginning of the initiation when you see the headless dolls and all of that. For those of you that have seen the initiation, um, so the main girl in this movie is named Julia, and she teaches deaf children, which is unusual. I don't think I've ever seen another horror movie where there's a teacher that teaches deaf children. It seems like looking for Mr. Goodbar, and please correct me if I'm wrong. It seemed like the main character in that had something to do with teaching deaf children, but it's not normally something that I see in films of any kind, but especially horror films. But Julia has a twin sister, Mary, who would torture her when they were kids. Mary tortured Julia when they were kids, and she had this dog that she would let bite Julia, and so Julia is just terrified of her sister Mary. So Mary's in the hospital. She has some kind of skin disease, but it's obvious that she's out of her gourd too. And at her uncle's insistence, Julia goes to see Mary in the hospital, and she's frightened all over again, and she runs out of the hospital, and she vows she's never going to come back there again. And but slowly over time, evidently Mary breaks out of the hospital, and we find out later she had a little bit of assistance getting out of there, and some of the people that are killed in this movie Mary is assisted by. Um, so Mary's not entirely doing all of the killing. So um, there is one scene that is rather disturbing to me that has the dog in it, and it's not the hilarious scene that we were talking about a little bit earlier, or it's not in my opinion. I think I know which scene y'all are referring to that's hilarious. But this scene concerns one of the students, one of Julia's students, who is in the park, I believe playing with a frisbee, and he sees a friendly dog, and I think the dog doesn't get killed or anything that I remember, the friendly dog that he sees, but the little boy is throwing a frisbee, and this friendly dog wants to play frisbee with him. So the frisbee ends up going behind a bush, and the friendly dog goes to get it and is evidently attacked by Mary's dog. And the dog runs off, from what I can remember. The dog runs off crying, squealing and stuff. And then the bad dog comes out, Mary's dog. And the boy comes towards it, and the next thing you know, they're telling Julia that one of her students has gotten killed. And she has to share that sad news with the students, the other students in the class. That is disturbing to me in a lot of ways, and they really don't show a lot with that, but you know what happened. And even though I know it's fake and it's within the confines of the film, the whole innocent child getting killed is rather disturbing. Let's see. Texas, you said there's some great twists in Madhouse. I agree with that. And Dirk, you say you love Madhouse, though. I totally agree with you there. Darren, you say Madhouse was on the video nasties list, which blows my mind. It blows my mind too. But there were a lot of films on that list that it blows my mind that they even considered them to be video nasties. That whole video nasties thing was such a exercise in idiocy that and I don't want to offend Darren, but I think he would agree with me on this, because Darren is from the UK, and that's where the video nasty stuff originated. But I think even British people with any sense will agree that whole debacle was ridiculous. And I'm so glad that we didn't really have anything like that in the United States that happened. Darky said, I guess because of the dog in a certain scene, there's a few video nasties I don't understand why they're on the list. And John, you say, yeah, that video nasties list was ridiculous. Texas, you said those video nasties documentaries are interesting. No, I do agree with that. I have seen the video nasties documentary more than once. I mean, even though the whole thing was insane that they did, just hearing people, British people and non-British people alike, talking about it. I mean, Kim Newman is on there talking about it. I love Kim Newman. And even he's talking about how ridiculous it was. It was just, like I said, it was an exercise in idiocy. And we have idiotic people in the United States as well that try to get this stuff started and want to ban stuff. And it's crazy. You say so much stupidity, just like the PMRC here in the U.S. Yeah, exactly. But So this was also, and I don't know how many of you know this was an Italian production that was shot in Savannah, Georgia. Um, it fuses slasher elements with the over the top excess of 80s Italian terror, resulting in a cinematic bloodbath so gut wrenching that the British authorities saw fit to outlaw it as a video nasty, which is what we just talked about here. Um, so the reason why I usually watch this one around my birthday is because the whole movie is leading up to Julia's birthday, and things keep they go from bad to worse, to completely off the wall extreme by the end of the movie. Um, and there are title cards that come up that say so many days before Julia's birthday, and something will happen, then it'll be 2 days before Julia's birthday or whatever. Um, so, um, Darren, you say you were spoiled in the U.S. getting all the uncut versions. We definitely were. They cut 20 minutes out of House on the Edge of the Park. See, that blows my mind, the thought of 20 minutes being cut out of House on the Edge of the Park. How in the hell did they even have a movie that made sense cutting 20 minutes out of it? Because I don't think House on the Edge of the Park was that long of a movie anyway. Perhaps I'm wrong. Um, Durkee says censorship, protecting you from reality. Exactly. Uh, so anyway, this is a director approved disc, and these are also director approved special edition contents. So again, you get a brand new 2K restoration from the original camera negative. You get a Blu-ray and a standard definition DVD presentation, stereo 2.0 and 5.1 DTS HD master audio options, brand new audio commentary again by The Hysteria Continues, Running the Madhouse, a brand new interview with actress Edith Ivy, Framing Fear, a brand new interview with cinematographer Roberto De Torre Piazzali. I'm sure I'm massacring that guy's name. A Video Nasty, a brand new interview with producer and director of Video Asantis. Alternate opening titles, original theatrical trailer, and a reversible sleeve featuring original and newly commissioned artwork by Mark Schoenbach. And so this is one version of the artwork. And hold on here, I will show you the other. This is, I don't know if you guys can see that good. There is a dead woman there. Try to slant it a little bit so you can see that. But anyway, that one is Madhouse. And I've got one more to talk about here in just a second. I'm going to read this here. Darren, you say you had the PMRC with music, I remember. Mm-hmm. Darky say, yes, I know. I saw some crazy shit at such a young age, and I didn't end up on death row. Right. That's exactly right. You say, yeah, Tipper Gore helped those records sell with the explicit lyric sticker, huh? Yeah, I mean, they think that they're, protecting people or protecting the youth by doing that, but all that does is makes people want to listen to it or watch it all the more. So, yeah, she probably did sell more albums than if they didn't have those explicit lyric stickers on them. Yeah, but the good thing is her little ruse didn't work, and it, like we said, it actually sold more records than it hindered. So, you know, more power to her, I guess. John, you say, LOL, Tipper Gore would have been a great heavy metal stage name, ironically. Yeah, it probably would have been. Um, so, anyway, the last movie I want to talk about, and this is actually my Synapse Films 4K set. This is one I didn't end up getting, I guess, was it the Arrow release of it? But I waited a little bit and got the 4K um, from Synapse Films of Demons 1 and 2. Demons 2 is the one that has a birthday theme to it because one of the girls in this apartment um, is having a birthday party. And some of the most hilarious scenes in Demons 2 happen at this girl's birthday party. Because she is like complaining she doesn't want her like a ex-boyfriend, current boyfriend, whatever, to show up at her party, and she's like, who invited him? And then she says her dress looks awful and like she looks awful. That whole scene where she's carrying on, and she ends up watching the a televised version of, I believe, the same film that they watch at the theater on the first Demons, that ends up turning, helping to turn people into demons. And so, although I like the first Demons movie the best of the two, Demons 2 is enjoyable and fun and wacky and all those things combined. It even has a little kid that gets turned into one of the demons, which, in my opinion, is pretty cool. And and Darren, you love Demons too. Well, I do too. Like I said, Demons is my favorite of the two, but I find so much to enjoy in Demons 2 as well, that I just, and it has the birthday theme. The first Demons does not have the birthday theme. Um, so, a little bit about, I gave a little bit of information about the plot of Demons 2. But it says the apocalyptic terror continues. A televised horror film spells doom for the residents of a luxury high-rise apartment as demons are unleashed through the TV screen at a young girl's birthday party. As more and more residents are infected and transformed into bloodthirsty demons, a young couple fights to survive as they try to escape hell on earth. And nothing ever is as neat and tidy as it seems, as we learned from the first Demons movie. Just when you think things have gotten straightened up, something really horrible and scary happens. Um, so, Derek, you say you can't just watch one, you got to watch them both every time. And I may end up doing that, but I definitely want to watch the second one for my birthday. Either I will watch it, either I'll watch it tonight, most of it tomorrow during my hour lunch break, or I will watch it tomorrow night, which is actually on my birthday. So, in Texas, you said the best thing was John Denver speaking out against them. Yes. But I honestly, that sounds amusing to me, but I actually don't remember John Denver doing that. But maybe I need to find some like old footage like off of YouTube or something. Um, yes, Curly Jaws, I have seen the Chucky TV series, and I actually enjoy it. I enjoy it a lot better than the remake of Child's Play that they had out. That was a piece of crap to me. But, if you like the remake, then I say more power to you. You don't have to listen to me on that kind of stuff. Darren, you said the soundtrack to Demons 2 is so 80s. That little gremlin creature flying through the air is hilarious. Exactly. Um, and yes, John, I agree. The Demons VHS cover is very memorable. Um, so, in case there are some of you out there maybe considering getting a 4K version of Demons 1 and 2 from Synapse, I will talk about I'll talk about the special features on both of them. This particular edition I have is a limited edition 2 disc 4K UHD. So you get new 4K restorations of both Demons and Demons 2 from the original 35mm camera negatives. 4K 2160p UHD Blu-ray presentations of both of the films in Dolby Vision HDR10 compatible. Limited edition packaging featuring new artwork by Juan Jose, I'm sure I'm massacring this guy's name, Salariga and Chris McGibbon. A reproduction of the original movie ticket from Demons. A special Demons 2 birthday party invitation. Fold-out poster of Demons artwork by Wes Binscotter. It's 4K UHD all-region playback, too. Disc 1 has the 4K and Blu-ray, or 4K of Demons. You get 2 versions of the film, the full-length original cut in English and Italian, and the shorter U.S. version featuring alternate dubbing and sound effects. Uncompressed DTS HD Master English and Italian 5.1 2.0 audio mixes on the original cut derived from the archival audio masters. Uncompressed DTS HD Master English 2.0 U.S. theatrical mono audio. New audio commentary by critics Kat Ellinger and Heather Drain, co-host of the Hells Bells podcast. Audio commentary by director Lamberto Bava, special effects artist Sergio Stilevetti, composer Claudio Simonetti, and actress Greta. Produced by Dario Argento, a new visual essay by author and critic Michael McKenzie, exploring the legendary filmmaker's career as a producer, Dario's Demon Days, interview with writer and producer Dario Argento, defining an era in music, interview with Claudio Simonetti, Splatter Spaghetti Style, interview with longtime Argento collaborator Luigi Cozzi, Carnage at the Cinema, Lamberto Bava and his splatter masterpieces. Dario and the Demons, producing Monster Mayhem, Monstrous Memories, Luigi Cozzi on Demons, for Fondo Jones, The Critical Perspective, Splatter Stunt Rock, interview with Ottavio Del Aqua, Civiletti Q&A at the 2019 UK Festival of Fantastic Films, original Italian and English international theatrical trailers, US theatrical trailer, newly translated optional English subtitles, newly translated English subtitles for the Italian version. Let's see, this too is the 4K Ultra HD Blu-ray of Demons 2. You get uncompressed DTS HD Master English 5.1 and Italian 5.1 and 2.0 audio mixes derived from the original archival audio masters. Uncompromised DTS HD Master English 2.0 True Stereo Theatrical Mix. New audio commentary by film critic Travis Crawford. Bava to Bava interview with Luigi Cozzi on the history of Italian horror. Creating Creature Carnage interview with Sergio Stilevetti. Demonic influences Federico Zampolini speaks. The Demons Generation, Roy Bava discusses a legacy and lacerations. The New Blood of Italian Horror featuring Sergio Stilevetti. Screaming for a sequel, The Delirious Legacy of Demons 2 with Lamberto Bava. a soundtrack for Splatter interview with composer Simon Boswell, Together and Apart, a new visual essay on the use of space and technology in Demons and Demons 2 by author and critic Alexandra Heller-Nichols, original Italian and English theatrical trailers. And you also get English subtitles for the Italian version. Oh, goodness. That was a lot to read. Well, let me take a breather here and go back up and see the stuff I missed, because I could see out of the corner of my eye that you guys were still chatting in here. Hey Jay, thank you for the birthday wishes. Actually, my birthday's not until tomorrow, but I appreciate any wishes that anybody gives me, regardless of the day. I'm actually, celebrating a little early by doing this live stream. Let's see. Oh, Curly Jaws, you said the Child's Play remake is a piece of trash. Well, I would totally have to agree with you there, oh Curly Jaws. Let's see. And you say, oh Curly Jaws, that the Child's Play remake is the worst horror movie ever made. I think it would probably be right up there for me. Durkee said, I remember Dee Snider from Twisted Sister speaking against them. They saw this long-haired rock star who was actually very intelligent and had jaws dropping in the courthouse. Yeah, that sort of reminds me of the interview they did with Sam Raimi after the Evil Dead. It may have just been after the first Evil Dead came out, and I think he was on, I wanted to say he was on some kind of talk show or something in England, and some of the people in the audience and the host were pretty much giving him down the road, and he wasn't having none of it. And he made them pretty much look like fools for complaining about his movies, and saying pretty much that his fans were low grade citizens and morons. But when you guys say stuff like that, that reminds me of that interview he did early on. Hey, X-Ray, and thank you for the birthday wishes as well. Well, they're hanging out with me and keeping me from being lonely, because of course Steve has went to bed already. As I told everybody earlier before you were in here, I'm actually getting to work from home for the first time with the new job for the next couple of days. And that's one of the reasons why I'm doing this, because I'm more relaxed when I'm at home. Not that I don't work, but I seem a lot more tense when I'm at work, since I'm getting my feet, soaking wet, doing, learning the ropes in this place, but I'm still a little, quite a bit nervous. So the ability to be at home and work the ticket queue and all that stuff without it seeming like people are over my shoulder all the time, I think that'll be a lot more relaxing for me and give me a better chance to actually learn on my own, rather than feeling like I can just go run to somebody and then having them say, okay, do this, do this, do this. I'll have to actually think it out myself and go through the process, and I think that's going to be beneficial to me in the end anyway. But anyways, let's see. You guys definitely are Texas. Like I said, you're keeping me from being lonely, where otherwise I would be kind of lonely because I don't have Steve to talk to right now. Um, yeah, evidently, John, the Vinegar Syndrome orders are going to take a good while. Steve and I were actually discussing that earlier today. I was saying, I thought at first I got a notification on my phone, and I thought, oh, well, maybe that means our Vinegar Syndrome order had shipped. No, it hadn't. And Steve said that he saw somewhere where they said that they were going to ship out the orders to the people that had subscriptions, those really expensive subscriptions first, and then everybody else was going to get their orders. So that could definitely take a while. Um, you say technically I've only bought once from them besides a recent sale, and it was a one-off in August, I think. You said the recent sale, I went vinegar hog wild. Um, Darren, you say I went a little nuts getting 13 titles this time, mostly slashers and a great giallo of the corruption of Chris Miller. Uh, Jay, you say PMRC and Tipper Gore bashing such good times. Uh, Dark, you saying pretty much the same thing I was. Vinegar Syndrome takes their time. Yeah, unless you're going to pay $500-700 or whatever that price is for those subscriptions. And I told Steve, I'm just not going to buy a subscription where a lot of the movies I wouldn't even care to watch. I don't want to get any porn or anything. And no offense to any of you guys that want to watch some porn, but why would I pay that inflated price just to get a lot of stuff that I'm not even going to look at or be interested in? Now, I'm not saying anything bad about anybody that does it. If you can afford it, more power to you. Maybe you can sell off some of the things that you wouldn't be able to watch. I know my cousin Jed, who used to be my movie watching buddy, he's got subscriptions now, and he shows every time on Facebook, every time he gets something in from him, one of those big package deals. John, you say, oh, okay, yeah, I figured I'm going to skip on Severn this time. Wow, Darren, I had forgotten about that, but you say the last sale took about 5 weeks to the UK. And Derek, you're getting 10 titles from Severn. Dirk, you might be going without some meals too, buddy. But I hate to do this to you guys, and I totally was intending on being on here being on here later. But when I was reading off the special features on that last movie, I was starting to feel not very well. I'm thinking it's sinuses. It's making me dizzy and stuff. And so when I was looking down and reading that stuff, I was getting to feel really bad. I don't know if hopefully y'all couldn't tell that I was starting to feel kind of sicky when I was reading it. But it was sort of like getting that car sick feeling or something. But I'm almost sure it's my sinuses. And it's also getting kind of hot back here. This room back here where we have our computers isn't really insulated all that well. And when the people built this room on, they did it in an extremely cheap way. So this room gets really hot in the summer, which we really shouldn't have our computers back here, but we don't really have a better place to put them. And it gets very cold in the winter. So, Dirk, say, I'm trying to make sure I don't miss any of y'all's messages on here. Dirk, say, yeah, it's 1,000 now, but they give you a $20 discount, so it's only 980. Woohoo! What a deal! Yeah, exactly. It would take my one of my whole new paychecks to pay for one of those things, and I'm not going to do that. Well, thank you, Darren. I'm glad that y'all understand. I I honestly did want to go. It kind of makes me upset whenever I get on here and I'm all full of steam and I'm ready to go and want to, shoot the shit with you guys for a little bit longer. And then, something like that happens where it just feels like my head's all clogged up now and it's just yucky feeling. So it's probably a good thing I am working from home tomorrow. But I could stay on here like maybe a minute or two longer if anybody wanted to put anything in the chat. If you wanted to ask me anything or give a recommendation for future live streams, I'm feeling a little bit better after I'm not looking down reading. So I could probably take a few questions if y'all wanted to ask. I thank you, Jay, and thank you again for the birthday wishes. Oh, thanks, Dirk. It may have had something to do with I had I meant to order a 12-ounce margarita at lunch. Steve took me to a Mexican place near our house for an early birthday lunch. And I usually get a 12-ounce margarita, and I think they brought me like a 16-ounce this time. And it may be playing havoc with me now. Yeah, John, these allergies and sinus troubles are really bad. And since I've been living in Louisville, you'd think my body would get adjusted to it. But it definitely has not gotten used to the air quality in Louisville. Well, I'm going to try to have the best birthday ever, Dirk. Every year I try to have the best birthday ever. But I was telling my parents, Steve took me to see my parents as a birthday gift too. Yesterday, which is why we were out of town for a little bit. And I was telling Mom and Dad that it's just, I appreciate the birthday wishes. I would never turn down birthday wishes. And I like getting gifts and I like being taken out to eat, like Steve took me out to eat today. I love my food and all of that. But as far as, you guys know, as we become adults and the older we get, birthdays aren't like when we were, little kids or even 12 and 13. Birthdays were fun then. Now it's just like you're just getting older and you're getting more aches and pains and all that stuff and getting more gray hair and in some cases losing our hair and finding it hard to get up from a sitting position. And, there's any number of things that we could name off. I told somebody that it was like I went to bed and I was 20-something years old and I woke up and I was 40-something years old, and it's like, why can't I get up off the floor now? I told Steve if it gets any worse, I'm going to have him get me up off the floor. Jay, you want to know my fave type of birthday cake? Well, I have a weakness for, and this isn't really good for me being diabetic, but I've been trying to eat little pieces of it. But the cakes you can get at Walmart and stuff with that buttercream frosting, my mom got me one for my birthday. And she let me take most of it home because she said her and Dad didn't eat it around the house. So I'm probably going to have an itty bitty piece here in a little bit. But right now, that's my favorite kind of cake. But I also like chocolate cakes as well. My brother, when he was a kid, and he still does, he likes white cake with chocolate icing. I would much rather have chocolate cake with chocolate icing. uh, if you want me to be entirely honest. Um, Thank you, Texas, for the birthday wishes. Yeah, yeah, me and old Damien from the Omen do share the same birthday. I, I could be wrong, but I also think I know I share the same birthday as Robert England, and I think I share the same birthday as Darcy the mail girl on the last drive-in. But I'm not entirely sure, but I do know her birthday is in June. Um, and there's a lot of things in June as far as my family's concerned because there's my birthday on the 6th. There's my brother's birthday on the 29th. My cousin Clayton's birthday is June 3rd, so he's already had his birthday. My parents' wedding anniversary is June 14th. Father's Day's in June. I believe it's the 19th this year. So, yeah, just a ton of things. And then in August 2nd, is me and Steve's ninth wedding anniversary. So, holy cow, where's the time go? Um, but yeah, I probably should watch The Omen too, since me and old Damien share the same birthday. I have a lot of sixes in my birthday. I'm just glad I wasn't born in 1966. Um, or it would have been too many sixes for me. But I was born in 1976, so maybe I'm safe. But anyways, guys, um, it is a little bit after 10, and I guess I need to get situated because even though I'm working from home, I've started a new job, and it's not nearly as laid back as like I could be with the library, and I'm still new, and I want to make a good impression, so I'm going to have to try to be on the top of my game tomorrow. So I guess I should just try to get some rest. But thank you guys for hanging out with me for a couple hours. And I hope to be doing another one of these soon. I can't promise you when that will be. But Texas, I will try to give y'all more of a notification the next time. Maybe I can make up my damn mind in time to give you like a few days notification instead of a few hours notification. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me and sharing the joy of my birthday eve. And I'll be back again with something for you guys at some point, hopefully sooner rather than later. And I'm going to skedaddle on out of here and get some rest and eat me a little birthday cake and call this day done. So, y'all take care, and I will see you next time around. I'll see you on the flip side. Bye.